Hi everyone, welcome to the Desi Crime Podcast. I'm Ashwarya, your host for this episode.
And I'm Aryan.
Our podcast is South Asia's biggest true crime podcast covering cases from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and so many more awesome Desi communities. We've been consistently topping the charts on Apple, Spotify, Ghana, and all your other podcast platforms.
And now we're on YouTube. So if you want to follow us on YouTube and hear us, go subscribe, like, and stay tuned for so many more crazy Desi episodes. But let's get into today's episode.
So, the case that we have for you today is one that has taken over the news in the last 15 days since it happened. This is the case of a seemingly normal, educated, and happy family that did something even beyond people's worst nightmares. This is the story of Andhra Pradesh's dastardly crime, which raises serious questions about India's mental health and superstition problem. This is the story of the Madanapalli double murder.
It was 2 years ago when an assassin's bullet triggers a series of events that still has implications for Pakistan.
That Jolly Joseph, who is a prime suspect in these 6 mysterious deaths, had plans to kill 2 more children.
फ्रीजर के अंदर एक डेड बॉडी मिला लेटर उसका आइडेंटिफाइड किया वो बिना मुजुमदार है
5 accused in 2 gang rape cases at the Shakti Mills were held guilty by a court on Thursday.
One of India's most flamboyant tycoons, Subrata Roy, is arrested. Vijay Mallya's appeal against extradition has been dismissed.
You owe a lot of people a lot of money for something.
Sorry, no comment.
15 days ago, India woke up to a shock. In some ways, it almost felt like history had repeated itself. A family, seemingly normal, well-educated, happy on the outside by any obvious metric, but deeply religious in many ways, like a lot of Indian families, had just taken a turn for the worst that we can possibly imagine. The family that we'll be talking about today is that of Valeru Purushottam Naidu, who is 55 years old, his wife Padmaja Naidu, who's 50 years old, and their 2 daughters, Alekhya, who's 27, and Sai Divya, who's 22. The family are residents of the town of Madanapalli in Andhra Pradesh's Chittoor district, which, according to an article by The Hindu, is known for an abundance of mangoes and tomatoes and also hosts Asia's largest tomato market.
So dastardly crime doesn't exactly go well with
I know, in a
mango
tomato
sort of
market.
town, yeah.
So, Purushottam Naidu is a very, very well-educated man. He has a PhD in chemistry and is an associate professor at the Government Degree College for Women in Chittoor. His wife Padmaja is equally educated, if not more. She was a gold medalist in maths in her university while she was a student, and now for the last 23 years, she's been a teacher at a coaching institute for IIT aspirants. For the last few years, in fact, she had assumed the role of a principal at the Masterminds IIT Talent School, which is also in Madanapalli itself. Originally though, Purushottam belongs to a small little place called Thavanampalli Mandal, and Padmaja was originally from the town of Chittoor, but the couple settled in Madanapalli only 5 years ago, so they're very new to this place. And the couple, like all other Desi parents, set a path of rigorous academic education for their 2 daughters, just like they had for themselves when they were young. Sai Divya, who is their youngest child, had just completed her bachelor's in business administration from Bangalore and had enrolled herself in the AR Dance and Music Academy in Chennai, while Alekhya, who is their older child, had recently completed a diploma in forest management from Bhopal and was preparing for the civil services exam. The family, according to all sources, are devoutly religious. Nothing extreme, according to friends and colleagues, but simply spiritually inclined and religious people who devoted a lot of their time to prayer and rituals.
And that's one thing I'd like to point out, that being devoutly religious is not the same as extreme. I mean, most Indian families tend to be devoutly religious regardless of the religion, because there's that element of spirituality inherent to India.
Right.
But extremism is sort of taking the faith to a level which is sort of not comprehensible.
Correct. So, no, there's nothing out of the ordinary about the level of spirituality of this family. Nobody has any red flags. They seem perfectly normal, just a next door family, by all means. So, it's January of 2021 and the family are living in the Shivnagar locality of Madanapalli in a 3-story, very plush house, which they had actually just moved into in August of 2020. Since just a few months before they shifted into their house, their daughters had been staying with them because that's when the COVID lockdowns were imposed across the entire country. I mean, that's when we started living with our parents and our families were sick of us after a while. To the entire Naidu family, immediate and extended, and to the friends of the family, the 24th of January was just an ordinary day. In fact, it was a Sunday. The family and everyone who knew them would have probably slept in late, maybe gone out with their families for a lunch, though I don't know if people do that anymore with COVID. But regardless, many would have woken up early to maybe prepare for the next work week. And the Naidu family was absolutely no different. However, it's important to point out here that the Naidu family, especially Purushottam and Padmaja, had taken a leave from their respective workplaces for the next 2 days as well. Colleagues of the couple later reveal that the couple wanted to conduct rituals over the next 2 days, and that's exactly why they had asked for these 2 days of leave. And these 2 days of leave were actually granted to them, meaning that after this one holiday on the Sunday, the 24th, the couple also had the 25th and the 26th to themselves and their family to conduct these rituals.
So they were quite open about their religiosity. Like, they were religious people. They're not even trying to, make a fake excuse for
No.
Okay.
That is not the case. Everybody in their colleague circle knew that this is what the family had taken a holiday for, and since they were very good at their jobs, very long working professionals at their job, they were easily granted this vacation as well. Eventually, somewhere along the course of the day, on the 24th, strange things transpired inside the Naidu house, many of which remain unexplained to date almost a month after the event. At around 7:30 on the 24th, a close friend of the Naidus and actually a former teacher from the Mastermind school where Padmaja was principal, whose name is G.P. Raju, actually received a call from Purushottam Naidu. Thinking it to be a normal call, just friends catching up, G.P. Raju picks up the call, only to have his jaw dropped and life turned completely upside down. On the other end of the line, his friend Purushottam is explaining to him in detail how him and his wife have just killed their very own 2 daughters, Alekhya and Sai Divya.
Wait, Purushottam is confessing about the murder?
Yes.
Like explaining that the poor girls have been murdered?
Yes, so he is confessing. He's saying, my wife and I have done this, and he's scared and he doesn't know what to do. Right. Obviously scared and shocked, Raju immediately cuts the call with Naidu and calls the police that very instant. Within the next 30 minutes, the cops have arrived at that beautiful Naidu house where what was waiting for them on the inside would haunt even the most seasoned inspectors forever. Inside that beautiful 3-story house, in 2 separate pools of blood, lay the 2 dead girls. Sai Divya was found dead just outside the family's prayer room, actually, stabbed with a trident, which is a trishul, and bludgeoned with a dumbbell. Alekhya was reportedly bludgeoned with a dumbbell as well. The cops found, weirdly, that chunks of hair were missing from the heads of both of the girls, which Padmaja very openly claimed that they cut off to give as an offering in their prayer to Lord Shiva. According to an article by The Hindu, their bodies were found wrapped in red saris with copper vessels in their mouths. A lot of books of spiritual leaders like Guru Meher Baba were found next to Alekhya's body. Religious artifacts, books, photographs of Hindu gods and goddesses, Shirdi Sai Baba, Meher Baba, Osho, and many others were found scattered around the entire house, and the house itself looked very, very scattered. The cops said that when they found the parents were absolutely hysterical and in a trance-like state, completely unwilling to listen to anything the cops had to say, especially Padmaja. The cops claimed that when they tried to enter the house, Padmaja was hysterical, shouting and refusing to allow the police in, and accused them of interrupting their ritual and destroying, quote, a majestic heaven on earth that was about to unfold, end quote.
The scene of her dead daughters is majestic heaven on earth.
Yes, it just gives you an insight into what was going on inside that house, just the psyche of the people involved in this crime. She allegedly also told the police that Shiva was inside the house and shouted that the cops should only enter after they removed their footwear. Once the cops entered forcefully, she started begging the cops to leave the bodies of the girls in the house for just a few more hours, for just one more day, so that they could bring their daughters back to life. She even told the cops that both their daughters were actually alive for an hour after they were bludgeoned, and that was proof that the ritual that the family was trying to conduct was actually working.
That makes no sense. People are shot, people fall from buildings and yet survive hours after something up. How is that? How these are PhDs, right?
Yes,
they're using that as evidence for their ritual to work.
They are, but as we go ahead in this case, I think you will realize that maybe the girls weren't alive and the family just imagined that they were.
Even better, I guess.
When the cops refused to agree, of course, they say we will not leave the bodies of the two girls in this house, Padmaja started getting very, very angry and hostile towards her own husband, claiming that he called his friend too soon, and it's because of that their daughters won't come back to life and their ritual went to a complete waste. To a certain degree, it might have even seemed obvious to the cops what was going on. It would have looked like and sounded like a superstitious ritual gone wrong. But nothing about this situation was normal. Despite it being obvious about what happened, I don't know how well the cops would have registered exactly what they were seeing in front of their eyes, purely because of how absolutely unbelievable it was. The cops immediately take the couple into the police station to question them and soon realize that this would be no ordinary investigation. The couple exhibited signs of mental instability from the onset of the cops walking into the house, and it didn't get any better during the investigation. The couple revealed to the cops some harrowing details. The DCP in charge actually goes on to explain, quote, "As per the couple's version, their two daughters had been unwell for a week and complained to their mother that they were experiencing breathlessness and had seen figures in the house. The youngest daughter had reportedly forced the mother to kill her as she could not bear the torment of these unseen forces. The girl had threatened to commit suicide if they failed to kill her. Sai Divya was brutally bludgeoned to death around afternoon. A few hours later, eldest daughter Alekhya, also under the influence of occult practices, had reportedly forced the parents to kill her too. All three members of the family, the parents and Alekhya that is, believed that Alekhya's death would lead to the resurrection of her sibling."
You just said something about the daughters being breathless. Is there any angle that is connected to somehow the daughters having COVID and so them performing a ritual to cure them? Is that sort of an element in I know the girls are young, so they shouldn't be that affected by COVID.
Right. And the autopsies on the bodies were conducted and nothing online says anything about a COVID angle. It just seems like the girls genuinely fell sick. And themselves and the entire family actually construed it to be something more sinister than it was. They were just genuinely sick. The couple then followed through the elder daughter's morbid suggestion around late evening, end quote. However, it doesn't end here. During the investigation, Purushottam Naidu revealed that Padmaja actually ate the tongue of Alekhya after killing her. He further added that Alekhya used to tell her father that she was a form of Arjuna. He said that he actually trusted Alekhya's words because he also used to read a lot of spiritual books and believed that his daughter could truly be the form of a god. The DCP also claims that during the investigation, at completely random moments, the couple would seemingly enter and exit a state of trance and start blurting out prayers for Lord Shiva. It would then take them a few minutes to regain their sanity all over again and respond to the questions of the cops. Throughout the questioning, the couple kept reiterating the fact that they can still bring their daughters back to life and that they are still positive that they will resurrect. The couple also claimed that had the cops not intervened, the couple would have probably killed themselves too, so that they could also be reborn the next morning along with both their daughters. The cops understood very, very quickly that the couple needed a complete psychiatric evaluation and a psychological evaluation before they are accused of the crime, and that it is that evaluation which should determine the next course of action for them. Despite the horrific details that the couple revealed during the investigation, the cops did not arrest them immediately so that they could take part in the last rites and rituals for their daughter's funerals.
Is that normal? Like letting the... because they're parents?
So that's not what I've ever heard. I've
Right.
always heard that parents or whoever is related to the people killed are usually arrested and then let out for the rites and rituals. I don't know how this was different. Perhaps because of COVID, there was a lot of tests and procedures that needed to be done to arrest them to begin with.
Right.
So maybe that's one of the reasons. Despite the horrific details, we know they arrest Padmaja and Purushottam Naidu 2 days after their girl's funeral, which is on the 27th of January. Before the couple's arrest, the cops made the couple undergo a mandatory COVID test, which Padmaja completely refused to take. When the nursing assistant would try to administer the test, she would start shouting, claiming that she wouldn't die from COVID because she is Lord Shiva and that COVID actually originated from within her and not from China. The video of this exact encounter went viral on YouTube and was recorded by a news channel called Quint. Here we're attaching a clip of it.
I'm having halahal in my throat. No need to test me for corona.
1 second.
You are insulting me. Stop. No. Even if you don't agree that I am not Shiva, it is okay. I am not going to die of corona. 1 second. Don't tell me whatever I am going to tell you. Listen. I am not going to give you the samples of corona test. Because Shiva, he is not having intention at all. No! Who are you to tell me? I am Shiva.
Okay, so Aryan, please let us know what you think of the clip.
It's like Conjuring but made in India. It's like a scene taken from The Exorcist or something.
Yep.
It almost feels as if something has... something has possessed her and it's... I mean, I can say possessed her because it seems like that because of horror movies, but there are some serious mental illnesses at play here. There is...
Yep.
I know there could be so many psychological things, multiple personality disorder. I'm just speculating, but
Right.
this is a person who is not okay.
So when I saw this video clip, actually, all the news articles that have spoken about this case, the cops, everybody, the psychologist, they've all said that she was in kind of a trance-like state, and you don't fully understand what a trance-like state means for Padmaja in the situation till you actually see her in it and realize how erratically she's behaving.
And to think that this is what a 30-second, 40-second clip.
Yes,
and
of her behavior.
And the inspectors are saying this is how she was when they entered the house.
Right.
This is how she's been throughout. That's hours upon hours of being in this state.
Right. So the police officers arrest and book the couple under A1 and A2 respectively of the IPC section 302 for the murders. Upon their arrest, Padmaja was placed in a special cell owing to her unstable mental state. Over the next few days, the couple are sent for their psychiatric and psychological evaluation. There's a government psychiatrist who's assigned to the couple, whose name is Dr. G. Radhika, who examined both Purushottam as well as Padmaja and also ended up interacting with a lot of the couple's relatives and colleagues. And she was part of an interview actually conducted by the Times of India. And in this interview, she tries to explain her side of what she thinks went wrong with this case and exactly where it went wrong. She felt that both Padmaja and her elder daughter Alekhya were the two ones who were highly delusional already, and that it was their shared delusion that then impacted the other two members of the family. Through her evaluation and conversations with relatives, a number of very, very unsettling details come to light.
So, I assumed that it was the parents' shared delusion that transmitted onto the children.
Right.
But the government psychiatrist is saying it was Alekhya's and Alekhya's mom's mental illnesses, delusion, call it whatever you want, that transmitted to the younger daughter and the father.
Exactly. So it was the two elder women of the house who actually perhaps had the onset of the mental health issues, and then because of COVID proximity or whatever, which we'll get into later in this case, perhaps contributed to how that impacted the other two members of the family as well. Many of the family's relatives claim that ever since Padmaja's father passed away a few years ago, she was unable to cope with the loss, and that was what was the start of her mental health decline. Dr. Radhika says, quote, "After the death of her father, Padmaja got extremely delusional and occasionally told her family members that she could see her dead father moving around in the house." On the other hand, Alekhya, who started reading too much spiritual literature related to the circle of birth and death, resurrection, and a lot of spooky material online, turned completely paranoid, and the other two family members were impacted by what is called the shared delusion in psychiatry. End quote. Some of the relatives of the family have actually gone on to tell the police that the younger sister falling sick after stepping on something during a stroll about a week ago acted as the trigger for Padmaja and for Alekhya to execute their plan to bring Kalyug to an end by driving all the evil forces out from their home and emerging purer by ushering in the Satyug. For those of you who don't know what Satyug is, in Hinduism, it's the first of the 4 yugs, and it's known as the age of truth, where humanity is actually governed by God, as opposed to Kalyug, which is this age and era of impurity and untruth, and is supposed to move away from Kalyug and go towards Satyug, which is what apparently Padmaja and Alekhya were trying to achieve with their entire ritual. Post their psychiatric evaluation, the couple were then sent to the Ruia hospital in Tirupati against being held in a cell, where they are currently being held right now as well. So, Aran, now that we've discussed the who-done-it of this case, I think it's time to move on to the why-done-it. And in my opinion, the why-done-it in this case is significantly more important. But before we do that, first let's rule out the possibility of an outsider being involved in the murder and the parents actually not being the murderers. Firstly, the couple from the onset completely agree to whatever they've done. They think they are trying to bring their daughters back to life. So in their head, they've done absolutely nothing wrong, which is why they are perfectly okay admitting to the fact that they've done this.
So they've confessed the crime to their friend, they've confessed the crime to the police.
To the cops.
It's not something they're trying to hide.
Nope, not at all.
They're so convinced of
the fact that they were right. So, despite that, however, if we discount that, the cops actually moved very swiftly to check all CCTV cameras in the vicinity of the house and sifted through hours and hours and hours of footage to find clues about outside involvement. However, there was nothing. From the testimony of the neighbors and the footage retrieved, nobody entered the Naidu house before the murder and nobody left after it. Slowly and slowly, as the cops start talking to the people that knew and interacted with the couple on a regular basis, very disturbing details about the family and their behavior started coming forth. An alarming number of people noticed that the women of the household, especially Alekhya and Padmaja, had remained confined to their house throughout the lockdown without much exposure to the world outside. Now, you guys, I know that shouldn't be terribly alarming since many people, out of fear of COVID, rarely left their house during these last few months. However, I feel like the fact that it shouldn't have been weird, yet it was weird, says something about the kind of impact that the quarantine had on the family. Had they just been a normal family staying inside out of fear of COVID, I don't think anybody would have mentioned this. In fact, it isn't just the Naidu family. COVID quarantine has been incredibly tough and incredibly hard for anyone who suffered from even mild forms of mental health issues. Suicide rates, rates of depression and anxiety all rose sharply during this time. But the Naidu family's mental health issue did not begin during the lockdown. In fact, family members revealed to the cops that only recently Sai Divya had tried to commit suicide by jumping off the 3rd floor of her house, but it was actually her parents who had stopped her from doing so. A friend of the couple also came forward to tell the police of a very, very bizarre encounter. Apparently, just a few weeks before the murder, this friend, whose name I couldn't find online, visited the couple. During this visit, Padmaja caught this guest off guard and said to him, quote, "You are like Buddha. I want to hug you. Please take me to your home." End quote. The man, justifiably shocked to hear what he had just heard, got very scared, convinced Padmaja that he had to go back home and left their house that instant. Cops successfully traced back Padmaja's weird behavior to the death of her father, and that's something a number of the couple's relatives confirm. Padmaja was unable to deal with her father's death, but not only that, many claim that her father himself suffered from severe mental health issues and delusions for the last 20 years of his life. This is the fact that actually gets a lot of people to think that perhaps mental health issues in this family were genetically transferred. And that's why Padmaja, who then transferred it onto Alekhya, exhibited the main signs, and then COVID sort of instilled it in the other two members of the family as well. The cops found their smoking gun in this case very, very quickly. It was Alekhya's social media accounts. So, you guys, I went through her accounts, and the change in the kind of posts that she was making was very visible. They went from normal family posts and vacation pictures and pictures on Diwali to pictures of Osho, pictures with alarming captions and pictures with cryptic texts on them. Two of her last posts on Instagram were just these like blue pictures with text on them. One of them said, quote, "Work is done," while the other said, quote, "Shiva is coming." In fact, she uploaded this "work is done" post twice in the form of two separate posts on her profile. Her Instagram profile has since been deleted, which I assume has been done by a family member, and I am very happy that they did that. When I visited her profile, the comment section on her pictures were full of people talking about the case. Most were obviously well-meaning people, but many were rude and mean. And I think that considering she's dead, she deserves this respect and privacy now.
So before the Instagram account was deleted, we took screenshots of those cryptic posts, which, trust me, without the context of what happened, look, I mean,
perfectly normal.
Normal, right?
Yeah.
For somebody who's religious. But with the context, they seem like something is about to happen and you don't know what. So we've taken the screenshots of those posts and uploaded it on our own Instagram and Twitter. Our handle is @DesiCrime, so you can check those posts out there in the case files. And yeah.
Okay, now with that out of the way, you must think this story is complete. But it's not. Stories like these never are complete without a tantric or a self-proclaimed God person who helps push a struggling family over the edge. The name of the tantric in this case is Subba Ramaiah. Remember how I told you guys the sisters were actually unwell, they were breathless and they were seeing figures across the house, which is what prompted the couple to kill them in order to fix them. Yup, so before the couple killed their daughters, they tried calling Subba Ramaiah home to perform an exorcism on the girls in order to rid them of their illness. Since the murders, Subba has been interviewed by news channels and he's provided his account of what happened on the day that he went to the family's house, which was just one day before the murder. On the 23rd of January, Subba goes over to the couple's house to perform an exorcism on Alekhya. When he reaches the house, the parents direct him to a room in which the girls were, but when he tried to open the door of the room, he found it to be locked. The couple and Subba had to break open the door to enter. When they break the door, inside they find the two girls. Subba also claims seeing something very strange while he was there. He said that the entire time he was in the house, Sai Divya kept whispering something very aggressively into Alekhya's ear over and over again. Then Subba goes on to tell the cops and the news channels that while the siblings seemed unstable to him, the parents actually seemed perfectly fine. They were not in a state of trance or delusion. In his interview with the Times of India, Subba said, quote, "When I reached the house, I heard loud cries of the girls. No one came to open the gates of the house for us to enter. It was only after the maid of the house was called and she in turn called Padmaja that we were let inside. They didn't open the door and we had to break open the door to see the girls. Inside the room, Alekhya was lying on the bed and Sai Divya was screaming loudly." End quote. According to the Times of India article, he performed some special pujas for about 30 minutes, after which Alekhya finally gained consciousness and got up and drank milk. He goes on to say, quote, "Later, I left the place and returned with some sacred amulets, Rudraksh and prayer materials. This time, I noticed an outsider who was present there, blowing a conch close to the ears of Alekhya. I tied the sacred amulets to the girls, performed some prayers and left." End quote. Now, a conch, for everyone who doesn't know, because I also didn't know, is a shank or a seashell of sorts, which we commonly blow in Hindu rituals. If you live in India, you have to have seen it sometime in your life. It's not possible that you've not seen it. The couple actually asked Subha to come over again on the 24th because they claimed that the girl's condition was worsening. But he's unable to go since he had other visitors that he had to attend to on that date.
That right there shows the problem. The fact that Subha the exorcist was
booked.
overbooked
I know.
for one day shows that there are so many families like the Naidus out there who fall prey to similar similar Babas, Guru, self-proclaimed sadhus.
It's very telling.
It's bewildering.
Yes. That is exactly when the couple take matters into their own hands and end up killing their own 2 daughters. You guys, this case truly brings out India's dire need to accept mental health issues as a legitimate problem and not a hoax, especially now more than ever with worsening mental health across the world. Now more than ever, we need to move away from godly intervention to cure scientifically proven illnesses and find a legitimate solution. That and only that is the way to prevent more Buraris, more Nitharis and more Naidu families. I absolutely cannot stop thinking about the sheer amount of red flags in this case, Aryan, like you mentioned. Seeing your dead father walk around in your house, calling a tantric for an exorcism, a suicide attempt in the family should all be cues to get up and ask for help. We reiterated this during the Burari deaths, we reiterated this during Sushant Singh Rajput's death, and we will reiterate this now. Put your mental health above all things and everyone. If you need help but your family doesn't agree, please find ways to reach out to someone on your own. As a generation of young people who will one day have children of our own, it's up to us to set an example today. But regardless of all of that, the investigation in this case is yet to be completed. In fact, it has only just begun. Once the police does their job, we'll do ours. Release an update episode. But till then, all we know is that there was once a house in which there were 4, where today there just remain 2.
And that's it for today's episode, guys. For more episodes and more crazy content, go hit the subscribe button, the like button, do all those shenanigans. And for more episodes, stay tuned, stay crazy, and stay desi.